Would everyone please stand for the pledge? Good afternoon or early evening, everyone. Welcome to the North Merritt Island Special Dependent Advisory Board meeting. And we have two items here today. First thing we're going to start with is the minutes for the last meeting. Are there any additions or subtractions from that? If not, is there a motion to approve them?
I move to approve minutes.
Okay, Gina moves to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, these are approved.
Madam Chair, I didn't catch the second on that. Who seconded?
Aye.
Who seconded?
Ted.
Oh, okay.
Ted, the reason I look up and talk is because Ted is in the sky. Ted is Ted is our other member who can't come to the meetings, so he's coming to us by
Satellite.
and yeah, and I thought it was you that said aye, and I thought, oh. So when I look up and talk to Ted, that's what it is.
Well, now you know I'm here. I'm watching you.
Yes.
You look
Thank
beautiful.
You, okay. Could the staff like to bring forth the first note?
The first item on the agenda is H.1. CatCam LLC Patricia Garagoslo requests a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment 21S.02 to change the future land use designation from neighborhood commercial to community commercial, application 21PZ00018 on 0.59 acres of vacant land. Accompanying that request is also item H.2 with the same applicant requests a change of zoning classification from AU to BU2, application number 21Z00006, and this is in District 2.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I can just, the H1 and H2 are companion applications. You can discuss jointly, but you will have to have a separate motion.
Thank you very much. Would the applicant like to come up?
Good evening. I'm
Good
Pat
evening.
Garagoslo. Thank you for having me.
We need everyone who comes up, just to let you know and everyone know, to give their name and their address for the record.
My address is 3903 Post Ridge Trail, Melbourne, Florida.
Thank you.
Has been for 35 years.
You speak into the mic if you can, so
Okay.
we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead.
Oh, my name is Pat Garagoslo. My address is 3903 Post Ridge Trail, Melbourne, Florida.
Are you going to give us your presentation?
Oh, you want to know? I am moving to rezones the vacant land that is owned by CatCam. I'm a managing member of CatCam. Moving to rezone it to make it consistent with the other properties that border me. To the north is BU2, and to the south is, I think in the front is BU1 and the back is BU2, but for all intents and purposes, he operates as a BU2 property. So I'm just looking to give it the highest use and be consistent with the other properties that border me.
All right. Does anyone have any questions?
I got a comment.
I beg your pardon? Oh, yes.
The property
Yes,
to the
Ted?
south is residential in the front and BU1 in the back.
Not that the notes reflect that I have. Did he say he thinks the front is residential?
No, the front is commercial. The back is,
Oh, okay.
it's BU1 in the front and commercial and residential in the back.
Okay.
AU in the back.
Okay. I think I was looking at the staff comments that seemed to indicate it was BU1 and BU2. But
No.
I could be mistaken. You could
What
be
is
correct.
what is the current zoning of that property?
The zoning on the property to the south is split between BU1 and BU2.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it was BU1 in the front and BU2 in the back, or maybe the
Correct.
reverse. But
That's correct.
But if you pass by, you'll see for all intents and purposes, he's operating under BU2.
And the one to the north is BU2 also?
Correct.
Okay. And the future land use shows this all to be community commercial, is that correct? From staff?
Currently, the future land use is neighborhood commercial on the subject property.
On the subject property, but the remainder of all the properties on the property?
The properties to the north and the properties to the south have a future land use designation of all community commercial.
Community commercial. And is BU2 under community commercial?
No.
Community commercial permits BU1 and BU2, in addition to the other zoning classifications that are permitted under the current neighborhood commercial.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions of the applicant?
Patricia, what is your proposed use for the property?
At this time, I don't really have a proposed use. I'm just trying to change the zoning to be consistent, and in order to optimize basically my ability to decide what I want to do with it in the future. So I'm not limited come the future when I decide to develop it.
And do you own or have interest in any of the properties that surround this piece we're talking about?
Not the two direct pieces connected to me. I am part owner of another piece
That's
in
not
Merritt
adjacent to
Island
this. Okay.
under a different LLC.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't own either of those lands next to me.
thank you.
No one else has any questions?
So you're part, this is like a group of people that own it, or you own it?
This is actually my children's property that we purchased a long time ago. Kat stands for my daughter, Katiana, and Cam stands for my son, Cameron. So it's actually, I'm a managing member. It's actually their property. And so at some point, I hope that they come back to Brevard County and maybe set up an office or do something. But right now, what I want to do is make it the highest use, so because I don't know what they'll eventually use it for.
Doesn't that also make it more available for resale?
That's true. I do have it up for sale, and
Right.
so would want to be forthright about that. But I don't know if I'm going to get a buyer or not, but I also have the potential if I do have a buyer.
Yeah, but if we upgrade with the rating to a BU2, it makes it more profitable to be able to sell that land.
Well, I don't know about profitability on selling land. All I know is that my interest is to optimize the best use for the property, and that's what I'm here to do.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions?
Well,
Yeah,
I'm
is
just
it-
always worried about BU2, because BU2, you can do anything, just about, right?
Right. Well, the property next door to me is BU2, and for all intents and purposes, the other one is on the other side of me.
Yeah, but we went through 4 years of a study for the small area study group, and we were against any BU2s being added to North Merritt Island.
Well, I'm unaware of that, obviously. I wouldn't have been privy to that. I would feel that I would not be being treated fairly if I weren't awarded, because the other lots in the, right next to me are BU2.
Yes, but yours is also the 2 lots that are wetlands on NW1 Wetlands Map. Your freshwater forested shrub wetlands.
So
Those 2 lots definitely are, and it's on the maps.
So I had a wetland study, and it should be part of the documents that you received. And what they are calling wetlands is actually a man-made ditch. Someone dug a ditch in the back of that property, and that was after I purchased it many years ago. Unbeknownst to me, someone dug a ditch in the back of that property, and unfortunately, so now it's deemed wetlands, but really, if you read the report and talk to the person who went out and surveyed it for me, it's a man-made ditch someone dug. And I think it was my neighbor, but I'm not going to accuse anybody. But it is what it is.
I think on the Ted may be referring to the Wetlands Map.
Yes, if you look at the NW map there, you can see that whole area coming down, including most of the eastern section of the playground there, is also considered this wetland.
That's what he's looking at,
Right.
this map that they.
And
you're-
these are the two lots that actually that comes out into.
Right, but again, I had a wetland survey, and the entire
Yeah, but
property...
anybody can walk through at any point in time when it hasn't rained here, or, you know, you haven't realized how bad this area gets.
Madam Chair, if I can just
well,
interject for a second.
Go ahead.
Hold on, please, minute.
Sure.
Thank
Sure,
you.
go ahead.
The map that are, the wetlands map is just, it's a general map
Yes.
based on soils, that's from a general area.
There's a soils map also, and her soils are not,
Correct. So we
Not-
would take a environmental study that's actually went out to the property, flagged it, to determine if there's any wetlands on a property. With that being said, when you look at a future land use change as well as a zoning change, there's two things that you should consider. Number one, consistency with the comprehensive plan, and two, compatibility with the surrounding area. Those are the two criteria that you should be looking for, whether to recommend approval or denial.
right, we
Thank
have
you.
several administrative policies that we also look at, the other people's properties and the just other businesses around and various different things, so traffic and lighting and noise and so forth. So we look at quite a few different things, but thank you. In the St. John's Wetlands Map, Ted, if you look on, there are no numbers on the pages, but on our handout, you'll see that the wetland forested mix, the heavy one misses that property.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with the lots because I was actually the salesperson on the lot next to hers.
Ah,
And I know that area, and I know those lots.
well, thank you.
I'm a realtor, and I was, when I started, I only sold lots of dirt land in North Merritt Island. So I'm very familiar with all of the properties here and the water conditions during various points and times of the year.
Okay.
Again, and I sat for 4 years on the small area study. We investigated all of these empty lands, and we set forth a flu that, should now be the doctrine. It should not be still coming from the North Tropical Trail study. Ours supersedes that, and it was released in 2019.
Excuse me, Ted. Jeff? Is it Jeff? Would it be possible for us for this board to include the North Merritt Island study that was accepted by the commission? Was it not accepted by the commission? I believe it was.
It was.
It was accepted.
And would it be okay to have those, a map that includes that in our handouts? I don't know if this will have any particular effect on you, but I'm just asking because this is an item that, is something that we worked on. All the people got together and they had a committee and they worked for months and months. The county was
Years.
wonderful and helped us years, that's true. And they set up a kind of a vision for North Merritt Island. And
So the vision for those two lots is that they can't be developed?
no.
I mean, I'm just trying to
No, the
understand.
vision was community commercial, neighborhood commercial, I believe.
So then why are all the other lots BU2?
Well, they were already there.
They were before,
So,
they were
you know.
they were BU2 before the small area study.
They were included in. So
You have a mixture of BU1 and
So it's-
BU2.
it's a mixture, yeah, it's a mixture.
And we're trying to retain the BU2 rating because of the fact that we have been in the past providing that to people and then they moved or they only got it for the purpose of resale. We gave it out, for example, to the Olive Lady, and now that whole lot up there is a BU2, and shouldn't be,
Okay, well,
if you remember that, Mary.
yes, I do. Thank you,
I've been a
Ted.
resident of Brevard County for 42 years. I have no interest in doing anything that will hurt Brevard County. I wouldn't be here for 42 years
Well,
if I
that's
didn't
good
love
to,
this
that's good to
county.
hear. Glad
And
to
if
see
you live
that
in
you're here
Melbourne
a
and you
long
don't live on North Merritt Island, you have no idea how
Oh,
difficult the flooding issue is.
I don't live in Merritt Island, but I have family that lives in Merritt Island, so I'm well aware and well-versed in what goes on in Merritt Island.
Okay.
You know about North Merritt Island?
Yeah, I do. I do
Okay.
know.
Okay, let's hold on to the subject here. So,
Madam Chair, if I can, so I was just looking at the staff report. There was a study that was done back in 2005.
no, this is the study that was just recently done of North Merritt Island. And what year was that done, Jack? You were on the board? You and Ted were, I believe, weren't you?
Yeah,
2019 or 20?
Was that 2019 or 2020 it was finished?
2020.
2020.
Yeah, and so,
And the only problem was after it was released, Tobia from Palm Bay turned around and we restricted everything on North Merritt Island to be 2.5 acres per house. And he turned around and tried to change it and said, no, everything is 2 houses on 2.5 acres.
well, I'm not sure.
Again, Palm Bay is trying to direct what's
Okay.
going on here.
What we need to do is hang on to the subject here, if we can,
Yeah, but the
Ted.
flu was established that
Yes.
there would be no more BU2s assigned.
What I was asking Jeff about was the study, and it's 2019 or 2020?
2018,
2018. That's when it started, right?
No, that's
Was
when it
finished.
completed after 4 years.
4 years, and then it was completed in 2018, just as a matter of record. So if what I was wondering was, is it possible that we have a picture of that in our handouts when we do this, so that we can have an idea of what this is when it was a kind of a community, how shall we grow, what do we want to be looking like in the future? And it did include that the corridor was a commercial corridor, because that had already been established by the county. And
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying.
It's all
Well,
commercial
I'm very
property there.
concerned that it's not being considered as part of the county review.
What do you mean you're concerned that what is
Well,
being,
that they're not
that
considering.
the study is?
the
That's
study is,
that's
right.
what I'm asking, is that if we can have a copy of that in with our
Madam
notes.
Chair, we can pull up the outcome of that study that was done in 2018. That's something that the board would like to see prior to making a recommendation. We can provide that to you.
Good.
But I want to pay close attention to the existing future land use that's on the property.
Property,
Is
yes.
that if you look at that map, this property is surrounded by community commercial land
Yes.
use already.
I
Besides
understand.
the property to the rear, which is the county park, which
Right.
is recreation.
I understand what
Okay.
these maps are. What I was asking you was, could you please give us a picture like this of what the final result of the study was,
I
with
don't-
our handouts in the future, not for now,
Okay,
in the
understand.
future.
Understand.
Well,
So that, and
North
letting her
Courtney-
know.
Mary,
Yes, sir.
North Courtney Parkway was considered at all frontage on that. Could be commercial, okay, but it was not BU2.
Yes, all of it
That was
wasn't
limited
being-
and restricted to somebody having a cup with a specific purpose of what they were going to do with the property, so that it could be evaluated for that.
That's correct. Thank you.
So what is he saying? It could be BU1 but not BU2? Is that what he's trying to tell me?
That's his,
Basically correct.
Talking.
he's one of the board members. He's one of our board members who can't come to the meeting, so Ted is a wonderful member of our board, and he's very knowledgeable.
And I'm also one of the 5 people that sat on the small area study.
Yes, you are. Thank you, Ted. So, do you have anything else to add to your presentation, hon?
No, I don't. I appreciate your time and listening to me. Thank you.
Okay, what we do is we have the applicant come up first, and then anyone else who wants to come up who is, wants to speak to this topic. And then after anyone else has come up to speak for or pro or con, then you get to come up and speak the last. And again, to rebut if someone says something that you feel that isn't correct.
Okay.
And then the closes to the audience, and then the board makes their decision. That's how it
Okay.
goes.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak to this topic? Sir?
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Michael Yock. I live at 565 Indian Bay Boulevard, Merritt Island. Regarding these zoning requests, I'm here to present the decision of the North Merritt Island Homeowners Association, Post Office Box 542372, Merritt Island 32954. We represent several thousand residents on Merritt Island, on North Merritt Island. And regarding the request of CAT-CAM LLC, on May 3rd, 2021, the North Merritt Island Homeowners Association objected to the change the zoning on their 0.59 acre partial from AU to BU2, and it's FLU2 and C, based on Administration Policy 3C. Inconsistency with the existing pattern of surrounding development using historical land use patterns, actual development over the past 3 years, Administration Policy 4, adjacent properties, zoning and character, Administration Policy 8, number 1, considering the character of the surrounding properties, and numbers 4 and 5, that this rezoning would be too intense for the commercial development in this area for State Route 3, and thus inappropriate. Not that it could not be zoned BU1 in this area, but in this northern area of North Merritt Island, this stretch was not originally intended for BU2 commerce and traffic, especially as the property abuts to a large park, many residents, and much residential land use. In the study area, the commercial corridor of State Route 3 from Sunset Lakes to Hall Road, in which this parcel is located, contains approximately 30% BU2 property and other approximately 70% BU1 and AU. Therefore, North Merritt Island Homeowners Association requests that BU1 instead of be the assigned here. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions of this gentleman? No? Okay, thank you.
Well done.
Did anyone else have anything to want to speak to this topic? Would the applicant like to come up and rebut anything she's heard? Okay. Well, now it's closed to the audience, and we bring it back to the board. What's your pleasure?
Well, if you go through the BU2, what they offer, you can have crematoriums, cemeteries, mausoleums. You know, BU2 is too. I agree. I hadn't really thought about intense, but it's too much.
That's exactly what we discussed, Jack, at the small area study.
I see that there are a mixture of BU2 and BU1 in this section of Courtney, and it does abut to the recreational area, the park system we have. I guess if you don't have a specific need for BU2, I would wonder why we would have it designated as BU2 now. But I do understand why you would like to have it similar to all the properties next to it, so it would be consistent with the CC. designation.
Does anyone else have anything to say?
Mary?
Sir?
Mary, it's Ted.
Ted?
Consistent with what the gentleman from the North Merritt Island homeowner said, that follows the findings from the small area study that, we were trying to limit the number of BU2s that were made available on North Merritt Island. It can be a BU1, providing that it has the setback and the trees in the front to shield it from the road, et cetera, et cetera. But, we did not want to increase the number of BU2s in the entire North Corridor there.
Thank you, Ted. I understand. Gina, what do you think? I understand that that I didn't want any BUNE on the corridor, actually. This was supposed to be and is still, I believe it's still categorized as a scenic highway. And
It was.
it doesn't seem very scenic right now, I guess. But that's what it was. It's an historic scenic highway. So, and the people who live here wanted it to be more attractive than it is now.
Mary.
Hi, Mary.
Hello there. I didn't know you were here today.
Sorry I'm late. The
So-
hustle and bustle of the era got
Oh,
to me.
I'm glad you're here. Thank you.
But anyways,
So, were you going to speak?
Yes, I had a
Oh,
comment.
I was.
Is that okay?
Can I finish my sentence?
Oh, sure.
So, that's one of the reasons that the North Merritt Island did this study, was to try to put together the area in such a way that it would grow in a less intense, gas stations, crematoriums. We always say that, but nobody has a crematorium. But gas stations and heavy machinery and parking lots for huge cranes and, that sort of thing. And they wanted to make this more of the scenic highway that it's really was designated to be initially.
BU2 also lets them offer things such as strip clubs and all those other nasty elements.
Yes, and some of the businesses that are more that are less conducive to the neighborhoods, the agricultural neighborhoods that we have in our area. So that's one of the reasons that we had that study, and Ted and Jack is also a member of that study, and we are all North Merritt Island people on the board here, so we feel that this is an important aspect. On the other hand, there is another hand. On the other hand, the surrounding areas do have, and things do change, and surrounding areas do have that designation. The way they're using it is probably pretty much the way that we were hoping that they wouldn't be using it. And it's being used that way. So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'll say that I concur with most everything that's been said around here, but one of the things in the study was that they said was, knowing that there is going to be some BU2 there, maybe the applicant could consider putting BU2 on the back portion of the property, and that's what the corridor study, I believe, recommended as well.
That may be why this piece of property has the BU2 in the back?
Yes.
Would you like to have your property in half?
That's fine, whatever you all want me to do.
What would you think of that?
I'd be fine if that's what you decide.
Because
I'm
if that
very
would be,
easygoing.
if that would be BU2 in the back, then it wouldn't be right on the causeway.
I respect whatever decision.
It also makes it harder for a realtor to sell a property that has a split designation, so she may want to reconsider that.
Well, maybe there
If
could
she
be.
took it all as a BU1, she would be better off for resale purposes.
Well, maybe she could decide, they could be creative. I don't know.
The problem there is that when you have a lot that's like that, it's just like her neighbor to the south, where the BU2 overtakes the front of the lot.
Well, other properties are that way, so that this would be go with the other properties, wouldn't it?
Well, can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I don't know the answer to that.
You have to talk to the into the mic.
So if it were split, it doesn't prohibit me from using the whole thing as a BU1, right?
Exactly.
So why would that hurt me? Ted? Is it Ted?
It doesn't hurt you. It lets you use it as a BU1, so I don't understand why you just wouldn't accept it as a BU1.
I will accept, I'm a very easygoing person. I will accept whatever the board decides. I'm not,
Okay.
I'm willing
So
to
you would
do whatever
accept a
you want.
BU1
Yeah,
instead
I
of
mean,
a
if you
BU2?
decide it's all BU1, that's fine. If you decide it's BU1 in the front, BU2 in the back.
Your problem
either
is
way.
okay. Your problem is that one of your lots there is AU in the back, and BU and split between that and BU2. I mean,
What-
that problem there is that you're moving
No.
from an AU to a BU1. So you're moving from a totally agricultural
No,
lot
yeah.
all the way up to a.
But if she wanted to go to a BU1, she could.
Well, if she doesn't have
correct?
a plan for what she's even going to put on the property, I don't know why we're letting her go all the way to the extreme of a non-regulated business property.
What is,
Zoning.
That's
what
a
is
very
the-
big jump from
that-
AU to
that is a big
BU2
jump.
is what Ted's trying to say, I think.
Thank you.
Correct.
Thank you.
And there's no actual need for BU2 right now, according to the applicant, for her purposes in changing this. So maybe we could consider the BU1 only.
Jeff,
If neither one of these
Jeff,
has
what is-
a
Jeff-
development plan, I don't know why you would consider even moving it to anything other than what it is.
yes, thank you. Jeff, what is the next step up from AU?
Anything.
Well, AU is really a.
Agricultural.
Yeah, agricultural.
It's not a general use,
Prob-
it's ag.
Probably the next step would be an AUL, which is agricultural use light, which prohibits the
Right.
selling of goods from the property.
Okay, but the next step up from that?
Probably RR1, your residential zoning district, larger lot. zoning
Okay,
district.
residential one, and what is the lowest of a business
BU1A.
B1A? B1A is. Well, I
So
have it-
if
I
that's
have it in my stack
if
here.
that's the board's direction to recommend BU1A, then there is no need to change the land use, because BU1A is consistent with neighborhood commercial land use.
Ah, well, that would be good, right?
Well, you would be
Patricia?
introducing a new zoning district out in the
Mary?
area. There's no
Excuse me, may I
BU1A
show
zoning
this
out
BU1A
there.
to
Yes.
the applicant?
Certainly.
Give her an idea.
I have the B1A right here somewhere.
Yeah.
Similar to.
As you see, there are quite a few things here, from antique shops to dental clinics to newsstands to tailor
And
shops.
exactly what she talked about is her kids setting up offices or whatever. That would be consistent with the BU1A.
So if I just made, just on a broad spectrum of uses in BU1A, it's a neighborhood commercial use intensity, office, retail, small retail. Then you go up to BU1 zoning, which allows for
It's more
intensive uses.
It's commercial.
And then BU2, the difference between BU1 and BU2, generally speaking, is warehousing and the ability to do outdoor storage.
So I think that that's what what Ted is saying, is that BU2 is so intense.
Well, I think BU1A is inconsistent with the other properties, so I would say BU1.
BU1, okay.
May I have a cheat sheet back, please?
Oh, yes, need to steal it from you. Thank you for letting me look at
Great.
it.
Okay, we've closed this to the audience now, so thank you to the applicant for answering some of our questions and helping. And now it's back to the board. What ideas do you have? Jim, I see you thinking.
I'm not sure where to start because we have to vote, number one, for the H1, is that correct? We have to decide on that.
You can do one or the other.
We can do, we have,
One of
we
them
could
first.
discuss them jointly, we have to vote on them separately.
Yes,
Correct.
Right.
It's one topic, but we vote on them
Right.
separately.
My thoughts are, we're talking about half an acre, 0.59. I don't think that is, without any known direction that her children might go with the property, the fact that she doesn't currently, is not involved with the ownership of any surrounding properties, I think
Yes, she,
land size alone, it doesn't warrant jumping into a B1 or B2 category.
Jim,
Sir?
you got to remember that they're adjacent to each other.
Say again?
You have to remember that these two half-acre lots are adjacent to each other. So now you're talking about a consistent 1 acre lot.
No,
The request is only for one lot.
just one lot.
No, it's
I
one.
know, but they're both the same. They're both next to one another, and you know that you're talking about them then becoming a single entity because they can file to have the two lots mingled into one without going through the zoning board.
Okay, excuse me, let me, Ted, hold on a minute, let me ask, Jeff, do you understand what Ted is saying?
I think so. I think he's saying that Ms. Gorondola owns the adjacent property, which I don't believe that she does.
She doesn't, she
She
doesn't
doesn't.
own the adjacent property, that's what I thought, I
Yeah.
might,
So he's saying he
It's only-
could do that.
She owns the two half-acre lots next to each other.
no, she doesn't own those, she only
No.
owns the one that's outlined in the book, in our handout.
Right.
But it's still a potential of the neighbors or a future landowner.
Right, divide and join.
Right, and that other
To,
lot is.
to join them in the future.
Correct.
Would allow them to do, warehousing on larger
Correct,
property.
correct,
Where
but
she
that's
might be
something in the
limited-
future.
She might be limited if she tried to do warehousing on .59, but if you add it to
Yes.
the lots south and north, then there might not be that
That's
same
true.
Right,
limitation.
which exacerbates the
So
problem.
that's the
Anything's
potential.
possible in the
Which,
future, right.
but you got to remember, if she bought all the property along the whole of the Courtney Causeway, she could do a lot, but we can't look that way. We have to just look at what we're looking
Understand.
at. So to be fair, it's, the .59 acres, right, So,
The 259 lots, aren't they next to each other?
we're not looking at those, we're only looking at hers.
She owns both of them.
No.
They're both
No, sir,
cat-
she doesn't own those, she
No,
only
she
owns the
doesn't.
one.
They're both cat-cam properties.
No, Ted.
No, I only own one lot.
She only owns one lot. The Cat Cam doesn't own any other properties.
It's the only.
And the one lot is the 1 acre .18.
No, it's .59 acres.
You're looking at the other applicant, I believe, hon. The
No,
Thomas
they're both-
one is
They're
Tom-
both her. They're both Patty.
okay, well, Thomas is 1.02 acres. This one is .59, I believe it is.
H1 and H2 are both adjacent lots.
No, they're the same lot.
They're the same lot, Ted.
Same lot.
Okay, half of the 59 acres is NC, and the other half of it is AU. And that's a
No.
59.
Madam Chair, if I can just
No.
reiterate, Before you tonight, there are two applications on the same property, which is .59 acres. One application is to change the land use from neighborhood commercial to community commercial. The other application is to change the zoning from AU to BU2.
Okay, Ted?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. All right, now, does anyone else from the board have anything to say? Jim, I understand you feel that this is probably not a good idea because it's not going to be useful right now?
I would vote to say no.
Okay.
On,
How do you
on
feel?
both, on the first one, H1?
If we're not going to, if we're not going to go to the B1A recommendation for zoning, then I think the current NC is proper for the land as it is.
Okay, yeah. So maybe would the applicant amend their proposal to
BU1?
BU1A?
Right, and according to Jeff, if she elects to go with the BU1A, then the first H1 is necessary.
Okay.
Okay.
You looking for me for an answer?
Is that correct, Jeff?
You know,
Jeff, is that correct, sir?
I'm sorry, I wasn't following what you're saying.
He's
Okay,
asking
so-
if you need to do a comp plan change for 1A.
BU1A.
No, you can have neighborhood commercial in BU1A zoning if that's the direction of the board. That might not be the direction that the applicant wants to take.
Exactly, right.
Okay.
what is the difference for the BU1 from the BU1A?
It's a little less, the 1A is less intense.
Right, what does but what does BU1 get you
Well,
that's
let
more?
me-
Here you go.
Here you go.
There's B1 and
It's more,
BU1A.
it's more intense types of things.
Right.
It's convenience stores,
Hospitals, let's see,
it's more of
Nursing
neighborhood
homes.
uses.
but you're talking about .59 acres here.
Right.
Okay,
It's
so
it's not a lot of land.
it's
So
not a lot of land.
I think, again, to be consistent with what's there, I think a BU1 is appropriate. I mean,
Okay.
there's more on either side of me, so I think BU1 is appropriate. And when I look at BU1, it's really, like you said, there's not much difference, really. I mean, I don't even know if I see any difference, but I guess there must be. But obviously, I can't put anything huge on
Okay.
.59 acres.
So the applicant wants to keep it, change it from going to BU2 to change it to go to BU1.
And it sounds like the homeowners were in agreement.
Does she have to reapply or something?
No, since it's a lower intensity zoning district, you can just make a recommendation to go to BU1.
I like that better. As what the North Merritt Island Homeowners Association assessed, 70%
necessarily.
of the corridor there is BU1, and then only 30% is BU2, and that's higher intensity, more, not what we necessarily were planning, according to our
Yeah.
plans.
It's true, and also being next to a recreation park, you don't want the heavy, hard intensity types of things, but BU1 is certainly got a lot of room to do a lot of things. And I don't know what the other properties are thinking, but the BU1 would be I think, if I were going to buy a property in our business area and have a business, that would be something that, I would think would be useful.
It seems reasonable to me,
It's
according
certainly
to
better
what-
than AU. Well, you can have bees, or a cow, or chickens.
But you can't sell them.
Not on a half acre.
Sir?
You can still.
I'm just kidding.
She's kidding. Okay, back to the board here now. So what
So
we need.
I like BU1 better than
So
BU2
we
myself.
have- We need to have a motion.
So then you don't need
Any more
H1.
Discussion?
Right. Okay, I make a motion that we amend this to the change to, and from a BU2, not a BU2 to a BU1.
Okay,
That's H2 you're talking about now, right, Jim?
H2,
Yes,
yes. We're not
H2.
doing H1. right now.
H2,
Okay, H1 does not
you don't need it,
need to be voted on because it's already an NC.
right.
Okay, Jack
I make a motion that we,
moves to recommend that this property moves from AU to BU1. Is there a second?
I will second that.
Jim seconds it. Okay, we need further discussion? No? You sure? Okay.
So we don't need to change?
no,
So, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? It passes unanimously. You have BU1. You may have a, what shall I read them?
Madam Chair,
Would you like a copy?
Well,
Sir?
the board
So
does
H1.
need to act on item H1.
Right.
BU2, or I'm sorry, BU1 requires a community commercial land use designation.
Oh, I thought you said it didn't need to.
You said
Only if it's
B1A.
B1A.
Oh, A.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Well, it's okay.
So we're going to go from zoning class from
Land use.
NC to.
AU to BU1.
No.
no,
No,
That motion was already done with item 2.
I'm
H1.
talking about
H1.
H1.
wrong,
It's as an NC, it can be a BU1.
wrong, see, here it is. You're right.
okay, I make a motion that we approve the H1 as it is on our sheet here, goes from NC to ACC.
I second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Yay.
Jim is opposed. So,
Why does an NC cover BU1?
That's how our comp plan is written in our code. If you look at 62-1255,
Yeah, all your other lots on there that are BU1s are also NCs.
okay, could I ask if we could have a conversation maybe a little later on this, because we're holding this lady up and we have another item behind it too. So, we've passed
Okay.
both of these for BU1, and so you have a business application, so that should help. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
Could staff bring up the next item, please?
Item H3, Cultural Land LLC, Thomas Jones, requests a change of zoning classification from BU1 to BU2, 21Z00009 on 1.02 acres of vacant land. The property has a future land use designation already of community commercial. There are, before the board starts to discuss, there are some staff report corrections that staff would like to read into the record. Page 1, there's a table where, based on corrected FAR, the square footage there in the table changes in both current and proposed from 25,700 to 44,431, and that results in, on page 4, third to last paragraph, second to last sentence, the percentage changes from 37.80 to 40.36 in terms of the MAV and that percentage utilization, so that that's still a level of C standard. So then the other thing is that we incorrectly identified the property to the south as being vacant, which affects two places. So on page 2, the second to last paragraph, third to last line, the word vacant. And again, on page 4, the same thing, second line from the top, the word vacant should be replaced with developed as a retail building, because there is a retail building on the property to the south, per the property appraiser's records.
Okay, that's on page 3.
Page 2.
Page 2,
2, where is it again?
third to last line in the second to last paragraph.
Oh, I see, I see, I see. I was looking at the wrong
Instead of
paragraph.
vacant, it should say developed as a retail building.
Retail building, got
And
it.
then again, the second line on page 4 at the top, the word vacant should be replaced with developed as a retail building.
Okay, because
You see that in the pictures.
the
Yes.
second building down, that's the old Palachicchio Grove building, right?
Yeah. I think so.
You're talking two properties to the south?
Yeah.
It sounds about the right vicinity. I didn't
Yeah.
check that property.
Yeah, that's okay, and the other one
And that
is-
one had a rezoning last
Yeah,
year, if
okay.
it's the
Yeah.
same property, yes, sir.
That other one
You-
is the one that they have all kind of weird stuff parked in the front.
It used to be a bagel store.
It used to be, the bagel store.
Now it's just.
And they split the properties.
Okay, could the applicant please, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jim.
Nothing, well, Leslie would try to,
Are you finished,
What that says.
sir?
Well, I'm finished, except for, you know what, I should not have commented on that one property, because I'm not
Oh, okay.
sure about the
Oh,
rezoning.
I was just asking.
You're talking, there are a lot of properties owned by that family, so
Oh, I meant
might be a
like
different
the-
property I
oh,
was
okay.
thinking of.
Okay, all right, sorry.
Thank you. Very helpful. Okay,
The administration hasn't been out there and taken photographs of the property?
we don't know, Ted.
Well, that's part of the administrative details.
Well, there's an
They have-
aerial.
They have
Ted.
an aerial picture in our map. Okay, you're
Okay.
going to hear from the applicant now, Ted.
Good evening. My name is Bruce Moy. I'm the president of MBV Engineering, representing the applicant.
And your address?
My address is 1250 West O'Galley Boulevard, Melbourne, Florida. What we're asking for today, a little bit different than what was at the previous request, is that we already have a land use of CC. So all we're asking is from BU1 to BU2, and we do know what we're going to do. We need the BU2 because we need the storage. Storage is very low intensity, but you can't do it without the BU2. So we basically are just going to have like a contractor trades with a little small office, mostly storage of materials and vehicles. So it's going to be very low intensity. It's basically a BU1 use in a lot of municipalities. However, in the county, it requires BU2. So that's the request that we're making. The site is vacant. It's an acre. The property to the south is now appears to be a metal fabrication facility, not a bagel shop anymore. I think that changed recently, so I don't think the property appraiser's caught up with it yet. But from what I understand, they're already operating, so it means the county must have issued them an occupational license or they wouldn't be able to operate. But up and down that corridor, I mean, you can see where there's plenty of similar uses. There's a lot of BU2 uses in BU1 zoning, I think, whether it be by grandfathering or whatever. And I did hear the commentary that was being made about, BU2 zoning. I heard the words limited, and I heard the words we don't want it. So I don't know if the report says we want to limit the amount of BU2 or that we don't want any more BU2, but we would hope that you would allow BU2 in this instance so that we can do this really low intensity development and get the outdoor storage that we have to have in the requirement in the BU2. There was a lot of pretty much almost all BU2 to the north of us once you get past Crystal Foley Road. So it's not unusual for this area. So I think it's pretty compliant with what's around the property. So I'm here to answer any questions that you have.
What type, I have a question I have is what type of, what are you storing?
Well, I don't know if you're familiar with contractor trades. They usually pop up a lot when you have a lot of development going on, which we do in this county. Number 2 in the country, so that's pretty cool. So usually it's like, could be plumbers, could be drywall guys, could be,
Would they be
they would basically
inside
have a
storage?
small office where they would do their financials. They'd have like usually a receptionist or maybe just an administrative girl that did their books. And then they come and they store their materials in the back. They usually have, I mean, if you had a, say, 1,000 square foot unit, you'd have about 200 square foot of office and 800 square foot of storage for your materials that you obviously don't want to leave outside because they would get ruined or.
So building materials.
So it's mostly, yeah, that's typically what it is. That's the use that we're looking for.
Is it your business that's
No.
going to be
Not
placed
my
there?
business, no.
You're just trying to
That's
change
just
it
what we're
to?
proposing.
He's representing
It'll be
business.
multi-tenant, it'll be constructed, and then they'll lease it to contractors and the like.
So it'd be several offices, you're
There would
thinking?
be multi-tenant, it would be several offices, yes.
Lots of trucks to be stored there and supplies and things like that.
Didn't we have a similar request here recently, last 6 months? Someplace in Merritt, storage of materials.
It's
Somebody
VU2, isn't it?
And several.
Yeah, there's a lot of material. I mean, if you look at the aerial of that corridor, there's a lot of materials being stored out there.
Outside, yes. We're sad about that.
Materials
Yeah.
being stored out there
We
are
don't want-
basically for the county, though.
Yeah, and what's good about contract trades is you have the storage inside, and then anything else is usually stored in the rear, so you wouldn't see it from the road. The road is usually, you have a parking lot with your landscape buffer, your building, and then everything would be in the back. So from the front, it would look like a
Well, may I ask
typical
you?
commercial use.
The property to the rear of your property is a development.
It is, but there's a big stormwater pond between us and them, and we'd be required to build a wall, so
And you would buffer.
we'd have to, by code, by county code.
So
yeah.
that they wouldn't be seeing it.
What are you doing about the 11 trees that are there for 62-433-2?
Well, we're going to do everything we can to save that 72-inch oak. That is a nice tree.
What about the other 10?
Unfortunately, it's on the north property line, so it's probably going to be fairly easy to save. So,
What about the other 10 that are supposed to be blue ribbon?
well, we'll work with the staff and we'll preserve as much as we can and we'll mitigate what we have to. I mean, that's way down the line. We want to get to this as step one. So we're hoping to get the approval and then we'll work out those details with staff and the site plan process with the code.
Well, this is the first time you actually had a usage explained as to what you're going to do on the property, but you haven't had any drawings or anything.
No. Obviously, if we're not successful, the expense of creating construction plans would be premature, so that typically doesn't happen at a rezoning request.
And then we're left with the same thing again about a unrestricted BU2 piece of property on the North Corridor,
Understand.
which is what the small area study was trying to restrict.
Understand.
That was the word that was used.
And we're perfectly amenable to you striking any undesirable uses as long as we can do what we want.
So you're looking to put a limitation on what you're doing.
If it's so required.
What are the proposed hours of operation? Do we have
Don't-
anything?
I mean, a typical business.
Well, you
5 days a week?
wouldn't know with that type of business, and you wouldn't know what type of activity he's going to create on the roadways.
Right.
You wouldn't know what type of requirements he's going to have for sewage, water, everything else. I mean, it could be a congested area right there because of the fact that, if you have contractors going in and out with some kind of tractors or trailers, you have deliveries that are going to be going in the back there to accommodate his warehousing. These are all considerations that we were looking at when we did the small area study, which is why we didn't want that kind of open environment with a BU2.
I have something to add.
Go ahead, Gina.
Thank you. The zoning map doesn't note, but there's no sewer available to these properties that I can see. It says it clearly on the staff notes. There's no sewer.
Sewer's on the west side only.
And I think the majority of all the properties are BU1s. There are a very few BU2s, so it's...
There are no BU2s up north of Hall Road there, Gene.
Yes, north of Crisafulli, there's a
Crisafulli,
BU2.
sorry.
One.
There's one.
There is no current sewer on the west side of the street.
Right.
No,
That is the proposed line
East side.
from the
that's where it's going to be,
Rondamenta subdivision
yes.
north coming down. And currently, there's no plans for anybody else other than that subdivision to tap
So
into.
you're talking east side, there's no plan.
No, he said west side.
The proposed sewer line is going in on the west side to accommodate that
Right.
subdivision only.
But it's not
Right.
there yet, right?
Excuse me.
There's
it's half
nothing
there.
on the right, on the
So this would
side.
have to be on septic.
I don't know that. If it has, if it meets state requirements that it can't go on sewer, then that's, I mean, if it'd be the same, no different if we open up a restaurant, which we could do right now, which would be a lot more water and sewer than we're proposing.
be on septic.
This would be very little sewer.
Right.
Then
If
you
we
would
can-
need a very large septic with a grease trap and everything else, and you only have an acre that you're working with.
Understand. Yeah, what we're proposing generates very, very little water and very little sewer. Not like Bagel World next to us.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't-
more concerned about the large trucks that are going to have to come for deliveries to your storage in the back.
And there are several uses in the BU1 that would be required as well.
In a 1 acre lot.
Okay, does anybody else on the board have anything to say? Have any questions of this applicant? No? You can have a seat, dear.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone else on the, sir? In the audience have something to say, and you do.
Once again, I'm Michael A. Yock, 565 Indian Bay Boulevard, Merritt Island, 32953. And regarding this rezoning request of the Cultural Land LLC, on May 3rd, 2021, the Merritt Island Homeowners Association objected to the changing of the zoning on their 1.02 acre parcel from BU1 to BU2 based on the Administration Policy 3C, inconsistency with the existing patterns of the surrounding development using historical land use patterns, actual development over the past 3 years, Administration Policy 4, the adjacent property zoning and character, Administration Policy 8, number 1, consideration of the character of the surrounding properties, and 4 and 5, and that BU2 rezoning would be too intense for commercial development and inappropriate for this area of State Route 3. BU1 in this area for this parcel is appropriate, and the property abuts agricultural land in the neighborhood. In the study area, the commercial corridor of State Route 3, north of Kingsway to north of Crisafulli, in which this parcel is located, contains only approximately 8% BU2 properties, 2 parcels. The other approximately 92% being BU1, EU, and AU. Therefore, as it's stated in the Planning and Development staff notes, under this definition of the County Comprehensive Plan FLU, element 2.7, this would make this a 4-spot zoning instead of a zoning natural to this area. Thus, the North Merritt Island HOA requests this property retain the BU1 zoning instead. Thank you.
Thank you. Good job. Okay. Anyone else in the audience have anything to say to speak to this topic? Seeing none, we bring it back to the board and it's closed to the audience. What's your pleasure?
There's been a lot of migration of animals since the 2018 survey that was done there. And since this is one of the remaining treed areas, you know, overgrown, whatever you want to call it, okay, I would think that, you know, there might be a request for another survey, you know, from the Flora Vista group to go in there again and make sure there are no more endangered species that have occupied it in these past 3 years.
Okay, thank you. Ted? Has the county received any information from any one of the residents around this? No.
I'm not sure that anybody received anything back there on Kingsway.
And Jeff, who this pond that is, am I looking at the right thing? Yes. This pond that is behind this property. Am I looking at the right property? Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
This pond that's behind this property, where did this pond come from? Do we know?
Madam Chair, that is part of the drainage for the residential plat behind, and it actually is part of individual lots. So the lot lines go across the pond. So that's how that works.
So the lot, those owners own the pond.
The individual lot lines cross the pond, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Well, they don't own the, you know, I mean, that's the retainage water that they put in there
It's a drainage
when they
easement,
built those
yes.
homes.
Yes, sir. I understand. So would this property then be,
During the rains, this property gets wet.
would this property be draining into this drainage pond?
Yes.
Madam
And-
Chair,
I'm talking to the county now. Ted, thank you.
Madam
Okay.
Chair, that will all be dealt with the site planning process. Each property on its own has to retain the stormwater on the site.
Yes.
There's a major study going on right now within the county at Crisafulli Road to consider drainage because of the flooding problems to the west and, or excuse me, to the north and to the south.
I'm
The
not
drainage would be
aware of
better
any
when they have
Yeah.
big trees soaking it up, that's for sure.
Say again, Jeff?
I'm not aware of any studies. I'm not saying, you know,
Well, we have homeowner input and everything to that. There's a large, I live on Crisafulli, so
okay.
well aware of that, yeah.
Yeah, I know that our department would not handle, you know,
Yeah.
that. So we don't have any involvement.
Okay. So what is the pleasure of the board?
I think BU2 is pretty intense for that area. I don't know that the proposed use would need to be BU2, but the majority of the properties on that whole area are BU1. So it's consistent with all the other properties nearby.
All right. Anybody else?
I would just defer back to the corridor study that BU2 is not what that was supposed to be designated for as far as the scenic highway. And also, you got 42 luxury townhomes going in down there, and all these developments on Crisafulli and Chase Hammock are going to be bringing in a lot of people. And they're still building right off of Hall Road behind there. There's a bunch of stuff going in, and having a big RV crane storage place and that people right to the east of their backyard. I don't know if you've seen the BU2 buffers, and I use that term loosely, that they have on there that are existing are pretty sad. They're not really, they're supposed to be a little opaque fencing, and they've blown down, and the county just doesn't have the resources to keep it up. So I think BU2 is too intense for that.
So you would recommend BU1?
I would recommend BU men, and I have a byline, I don't want to screw things up, but wasn't the the planned industrial park supposed to be up closer to KSD? Isn't that where we wanted to move all these types of storages for the construction of the Cape and everything? They're all supposed to be up there by Air Liquide. I
Yes.
think that's a much more appropriate location. That's
that
where it was
was
planned
what
to
it
be.
was.
Yes.
And I think that's where we need to try to gently coerce that kind of development to go up there, because we have a place for it, but I don't think the middle of State Road 3 in there, and
So
all our
Chris-
tourists going by there and all the people living there, this is the place for it.
So
to
Chris,
have
you
the
don't think
storage.
that BU2 would be very appealing to people who live nearby?
No.
It might reduce their property value?
Yes, exactly. If you have a big storage in your backyard, that can improve your property values.
Anyone else? Jack?
Oh, I'm for keeping it as is.
Okay.
You make a motion, Jack?
No, there's no motion.
Jack, I second it.
First, we have to make it. I'd like to make the motion to decline the
Kathy.
request in change of zoning from BU1 to BU2 on account that it is inconsistent with the surrounding residential and AU properties. It's also inconsistent with the character of the neighborhood. Everything in the area being BU1, there are no BU2s in that vicinity. Also with the inconsistency of what has gone on in this general vicinity where it's, the development that's taking place is, purely residential. There's been no increase in commercial activity to the BU2 level. There is BU2 available north of East Crisafulli and West Crisafulli. So something like this could easily be up there. There's land that's available that's already BU2 up there. So that's,
Okay.
my recommendation is to decline it based on those items.
Okay, that's your motion,
Yes.
based on those items. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Jim seconds. Discussion.
I think we could also list some of the policies. The
Administrative
That it,
Which ones of those would you like to list?
Administrative Policy 3 and
3C and 4,
right?
8-1,
8-1,
8-4,
4,
and
and 5.
5.
All right. Anyone else? Okay, we have a motion and a second. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. This is, goes to AU1. Thank you. Me, AU1. Okay, are there any other items for us tonight?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, with the small area study, there's supposed to have been a moratorium placed on all construction going on. Whatever happened with that?
I don't know as there was one approved by the commission.
It was sent in to Eric, Aaron, to add to the small area study
To my
because it
knowledge,
was part
there
of
was
the
no moratorium.
discussion,
That
and
was,
she didn't use,
issued by
and
the
we didn't
board.
use the word moratorium.
And Jeff, what did you say? There's no moratorium?
As far as that I know, that there was no moratorium approved by the Board of County Commissioners for this area.
I think it
Yes.
was requested and it was
Yeah.
considered, but
Requested and considered but not voted on. Okay. Is there any other items? With no other items on the agenda, we are adjourned. Thank you for coming.
The opinions expressed by any member of the public during any period of public comment do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, or the program sponsor, and are solely those of the presenter. The Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, and the program sponsor hereby expressly disclaim any and all responsibility or liability for any defamatory or slanderous statements expressed by any member of the public during any such period.